Yes, yes, yes. You know what that sound means. A little week late, a dollar short, as they might say. Took a little break last week. Sorry about that. But anyway, you know what that sound means. It's time for In the Paddock F1, Greeny and the Cheese. We are back. We are in Belgium, in the Ardennes Forest, for the 68th time. It's the Belgian Grand Prix. Belgium known for its waffles, the chocolate, and of course, the bear. Can't forget about the bear. And for the 56th time, we're racing at Spa-Francorchamps, the longest circuit on the calendar at 4.35 miles, a 335-foot difference in elevation change on your lap. In those legendary corners like Eau Rouge, Radillon, Le Source, Pouhon, to name a few. 19 corners, 2 DRS zones, even the full beans for 68% of your lap. Another race, just more Red Bull domination. Max starts sixth, runs the ball down, wins by, 20 plus seconds. Just another Sunday drive for Max. Sergio takes second. Leclerc takes third. How about them apples? We're caffeinated. We're medicated. Greeny. Good afternoon, sir.
Like I said, the bet was on. I said that Ferrari would get a podium before Haas got a point, and I was right. You said no way. I said
no. I said I will have to go back to the tapes here, but I'm pretty certain I said, yeah, Ferrari will probably get a podium before Haas gets a point. Let's be real.
We'll go back to the videotape on that one. Greeny the Cheese and the Paddock F1. Yeah, we had a little kerfuffle last week with some of our audio and equipment and timing and all that. So I think our first episode in 3 years, we weren't able to get up for you guys. But we are back. We are at Spa, and it is officially break now as of about 2 hours ago when the race finished up. So we are officially on break. But before we go to break and before we head off to Zandvoort, which is apparently another one of Max Verstappen's like 7 home races. I think every race is Max Verstappen's home race, including this one, including the Hungaroring, including anywhere else in Central Europe. They're all home races for Max Verstappen. And this was no less a home race for him as he wins yet again, now starting 6th this time and finishing the race easily in first. Sergio Perez looked good. Finally, had a good weekend all the way through.
Man.
First good weekend, I think, for Sergio in a while from, P1 all the way through. Still didn't look anywhere near where Max was. The McLarens were good and bad and struggled and didn't struggle. And Ferrari had a good weekend. You didn't believe it when you saw it. The sprint race, 4th and 5th, not ideal for Ferrari, but showed up in a podium, at least half the team. And the other half of the team, absolute nightmare. I'm sure you'll get to that at some point this evening. Cheese, your thoughts on today's race?
Max domination. Just how he ran his teammate down so fast in the same car. I mean, he's driving at an absolutely ridiculous level. Sergio had a good drive. Sprint race didn't go as well with, after Hamilton put a torpedo, basically looking like a warship. As you said, Carlos Sainz's car looked like today as well. The nice hole in the side pod, but it's a good weekend for Sergio. I mean, it's where he should be, to be honest, with the car that he's driving. He should be finishing right behind Max every single race. It should be
every single race.
There's really no excuse otherwise. To be honest, McLaren was good in the wet, but they just ran a little too much downforce this weekend. That totally, especially with the long straight to Spa, that's going to kill you, which it did and showed. Piastri a little, unlucky as well with the lap 1 incident. Merc was so-so, to be honest. I think maybe Russell might have been running a little too much downforce compared to his teammate.
Maybe.
So maybe a little, snafu call there. Ferrari showed pace. How about that? Wow.
A little bit of pace.
Still just absolutely stupid.
That was terrible.
I mean, Sainz's car is a hole in the side pod, but we'll just keep going. We'll keep going. Like, come on.
That was
just
a serious hole.
Just park the car.
Like just a scratch.
No.
That was a
legit
gash.
hole. That was a gash. Yes.
That was a gash.
At that point, you got to retire the car. Save the mileage. I mean, you've already had reliability issues with the engines already. I mean, you guys are basically on the verge of penalties now anyway for Ferrari with their engine right now. So save the mileage. Shouldn't have went that far in the race. That was absolutely stupid. But then again, what do you expect from the Ferrari pit wall at this point in time? It's a clown show. But it's really just all about Max and Red Bull. I mean, 20 seconds just dominant from starting 6th. Just dominant.
Yeah. What else can you say? What else can you say about Red Bull? Another great weekend for the Red Bull team. Really now firing on all cylinders. If Sergio drives like this for the rest of the...
when does it stop? It's 13 in a row now. When does it stop? Is it going to stop?
Listen, we said when he tied it at 11, there's no end in sight. We saw with Oscar Piastri up there, but McLaren doesn't have enough, as you saw today. Even Lando Norris,
nobody had enough.
A little bit.
Max Verstappen had 0.8 of a second on the field in quality on Friday. That's stupid.
It was ridiculous. Ridiculous.
That's stupid.
He's the pace setter. Max Verstappen is the pace setter for everyone. It's not just the Red Bull, but you have a situation like you had with, I would say, Lewis Hamilton in 16, 17, 18, where you just had the best driver and the best car. When you have the best driver and the best car, it just makes it impossible to stop. And it's not even the best driver and the best car. The reliability level and nothing against Lewis Hamilton in his prime, but Max Verstappen, who was once known to not have composure, has increased his composure year over year.
Oh, absolutely.
His composure, he does get fired up. He does get, I think more and more now over the radio, he's getting more and more fired up on the radio, as you may have heard, especially over the last few races. He's been getting really fired up, especially for someone who's won, 7 in a row, 8 in a row now. So, and team 12 in a row, unbelievable, 13 now in a row. How far can they go? Who's going to beat them? The only one that could beat Red Bull right now is Red Bull.
It's
Mechanical failure.
Yeah.
Something going on.
Yeah.
Max coming out of 6th and just easily winning that race. And as well as you saw, even in lap 1, how quickly Sergio Perez took the lead in the race. It was very quickly. He blew right by.
The lead. Well, it's Spa. You do not want to lead out of the first corner in Spa. You want to be second. You want to be second heading into a Rouge, heading out of the Camel Straight.
Absolutely. And going through a Rouge,
if you're first, no matter even if Max Verstappen would have been first, and Perez would have been behind him, Perez would have passed him, because that's just what happens. You're a sitting duck in your first if you're first heading into a Rouge.
Absolutely. But Sergio Perez didn't look back.
No, but he didn't get off to he was only 3 seconds ahead of Leclerc when Verstappen made the pass. Then Verstappen passed him in 2-3 laps.
It was coming from 6.
Reeled him in like a fisherman reeling in a shark. I mean, that's what it was. He just reeled him in a couple laps. Just was running 0.6 of a second faster almost every lap that Perez was running at that point. And just ran him down, made a quick, smooth, easy pass on the Camel Straight, sat back there, relaxed, smooth and easy. I'll see you later. I'm off to a Sunday drive, and I'll see you guys in 20 seconds. I'll be at the winner's circle. I'll be at Parc Ferme waiting for you guys for half a minute.
Didn't take long. That was for sure. Not at all. Listen, wild race today. Wild weekend. I don't say wild race today, but a wild weekend. The sprint race was out of control, ending up with 11 laps. Everyone coming in for those inners. Just wild. It was an absolute wild sprint race. And overall, and we'll get to this later on, but the dangers that exist and what we saw, with Danilo Van Hoff earlier, if you haven't seen earlier this month at Spa, him unfortunately, passing away in that terrible, terrible accident at the Kemmel Straight. And, you got to go back to 2019 where, what's his name? Anthony Hubert, who passed away, F2 driver, also at the Kemmel Straight as well. Lando Norris had that terrible accident a bunch of years back in the same area, and it's wet. That George Russell, who's part of the director's team regarding safety and on the driver's perspective and the from the driver's end, he really, really was pretty adamant that they shouldn't race if it was going to be rain. We didn't see much rain today, this afternoon, but we did see rain all weekend. What did you think about the wet conditions during the sprint race? I know they held the race for a while. They pushed it back. But talk to me about the rain really Thursday or really Wednesday evening all the way through last night and how that affected the race and what they should have done, what they didn't do. What about the weather?
I think the FIA handled it exactly the way they have to handle it. They delayed it. The problem is, it's not that it's wet. It's the tires for an F1 car in wet conditions throws off so much spray, and the drivers can't see. That's what the issue is. That's when Hubert died. He was in a crash and he got hit by somebody else because they couldn't see in the wet. Same thing happened earlier in the month. It was wet. People can't see. That's the issue. It's the amount of spray these tires throw off. That's why they delayed it. That's why they had the drivers go out and do a few laps because nothing moves more water than an F1 car's tire off of roadway. That's why they ran a few laps, had the cars move the water off because they just throw that much water off. I forget the amount of gallons that they throw off per second for an F1 car, but it's ridiculous. But yes, they had to delay it. And that's what they did it, and that's why the delay was done. I think the delays were done correctly. Just keep holding it until weather passes. Spa's very dangerous in that regard too. Spa also dries very quick. So if you get the cars out there for a couple laps for extra formation laps, I don't really think it, could it have changed the race? Maybe the sprint, if you could have been drier quicker, could have had another extra pit stop, people going to dries later if you had the full 15. But you have to, as Captain Safety, you got to lay on the side of safety. And that's what they're doing now, especially at Spa. They've had a lot of deaths at Spa.
Yeah,
I mean, there's even talk that Eau Rouge and Radeon are going to be changed.
Yeah, a lot of death really isn't like your best marketing appeal.
No,
for anything.
No,
there's been a lot of death there, so we're looking into it. Yeah, this isn't Action Park, and it's almost as dangerous as my childhood and your childhood theme park, where people were carted out in ambulances on the daily. We don't want that happening as well here in Spa. And listen, it's been a dangerous track for many, many years, going all the way back to the start of Formula One, when they had the long track. It was like 8.2 miles when it went all the way into the woods. And you got caught out there. They were never finding it again. I mean, you were out in middle of nowhere. There was no grandstand out there. You were in the woods. And accidents happened, and it took 15 minutes just to get out there in those situations. So, yes, we've seen a lot of serious injuries, crashes, and unfortunately death all the way back from the 1950s all the way to today and this month. And it's something that we thought we would get past. And this seems to be, especially the Kemmel Straight, seems to be one of those last remaining, and the turn going into it seems to be one of the last remaining really dangerous areas in Formula One, and it's something that probably should be cleaned up. And unfortunately, each time we're in a cleanup situation, it's because someone has passed away. Listen, we got a lot more going on tonight. We got winners, losers, and of course, momentarily, we will have the Quizmaster's Cockpit. Greeny and the Cheese in the Paddock F1. Let's do this. back. We need the cheese in the Paddock F1. Yes. The last race prior to, of course, the big break here. How you feeling about the break? We'll talk about that later. Looks like, as we thought, Red Bull just has this tied up. Constructors, Max Verstappen has this all tied up. Not much to root for second half of the year. But what we do have to root for is me failing miserably in another Quizmaster's cockpit. So we'll see how that goes. I appreciate you bombing me with last week's questions, even though we didn't end up with a show. We apologize for that. Those of you who were looking for last week's show, we had some technical difficulties and life mishap difficulties and all this other stuff. So we apologize. First show we missed in like 3 years. So apologize for that. Mostly my fault. So, but here we are, ready to rock and roll. And of course, as I delay as much as possible here, we enter the Quizmaster's cockpit. Cheese.
Yes, sir.
Without further ado,
Let's
you
do
have three
this.
questions. Let's see if I can get any of them right this week.
Question 1. Who has the most wins at Spa?
Schumacher?
That is correct. 6.
6? Is that right?
That is correct.
Wow, I gotta get the bell. I didn't even think I would get it. Here we go. There we go. I got the bell. Kept it on the side
Now-
there. I didn't think I would need
Now,
it.
2 questions that I had from last week.
Ooh.
Let's see if
Ooh.
let's see if you
No chance.
let's see if you can have a little memory.
No.
Red Bull are now at 13 wins in a row. McLaren had the last record at 11 in a row. What year did that occur?
I know it was late 80s. I'm going to go with Double Snowman, 1988.
That is correct, sir.
Nice. Couldn't mess that one up. I would have slapped myself if I messed that one up.
It was the Senna Prost year, so
It was a center press here.
pretty legendary season. Question 3. So you're 2 for 2. Can we
Sweat
get a W
now.
for a change?
Dripping in the sweat now in this hot weather. Go.
Max now has 8 wins in a row. What drivers have 7 or more wins in a row? Name them.
Do I get a number?
There's 4.
Drivers. Oh, I know some of these. Alberto Ascari, 1952 to 53, I believe.
Yes. Did it both years.
Yeah. Schumacher had to have done it.
Yep. 04.
And I know we were just talking about this. Nico Rosberg did it in 2015.
That is correct. One more.
I don't think Senna did it. I don't think Lewis ever did it either.
Nope.
Thank you for the hints. Shoot. Who else? Sebastian Vettel?
That is correct.
Wow!
He also holds the most wins. Also holds the most wins in a row. Seb also has the most wins in a row at 9. So Max will be going for that at Zandvoort. We come back from break.
Yes,
that is the first time
at his home race
in a very long time. You win the Quizmaster's cockpit. Therefore, we go to winners first, sir. For a change.
Been a while.
Wow. Winners for me. I'm going to give it to Charles Leclerc. Getting on that podium's huge. That's huge.
Absolutely.
Showed a lot of pace all weekend. absolutely gets the winner this week. And they've been off the pace for a number of weeks here after the start of the season they had. Aston Martin, 5th and 9th. Getting back on the pace a little bit there because they've been pretty awful for a number of weeks there.
Double points.
Sure. That's big for Aston to get back.
Especially for Alonso back in the top 5 again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, beginning of the season, we were, talking about them possibly winning a race, and then they just fell off the map there for a while. But 5th and 9th, got to give it to him. Lance Stroll in 9th, too. How about that? Well, probably didn't have the best pit strategy there, making him stay out for the rain that never really came. So he definitely lost some spots there in that regard, but he still got back up to the 9th. So good drive from Lance. And those will be my winners.
How about Alpine showing something, specifically Esteban Ocon after gutting their staff there. I guess people woke up a little bit after the pink slips come out and people start getting fired. That's when you start waking up. So got to give it up for Alpine. They made some major personnel changes this week in the front office and came away with Esteban Ocon going 8th, 14th to 8th. +6 on the grid, biggest gainer of the day. And I know Pierre Gasly ended up in 11th, but he podiumed, I guess. Like it's a podium in the sprint race. So I guess, points there. Is that a podium or whatever it is?
Yeah, it's a something.
This is something, race. I guess. Do you get hardware for that? You get a trophy?
I don't think you get like a medal or something. I don't know.
Medal.
Some kind of, I don't
ring,
know.
Something.
Get some
whatever.
Kind of rubbish.
So you got to give it up to Alpine because they've been pretty god awful, and they've definitely ended up on our losers list several times.
Well, they had back-to-back races. They had didn't have a car finish.
Yeah, I mean, really, it was pretty bad. They were very Haas-esque, as we said over the last couple of shows here. But listen, they showed up today, and an 8th and an 11th is not really what you want. But it's a lot better
than what they've been getting. It's better than what they've been
doing. And I know Oscar Piastri got squeezed out there in that first turn and ended up ruining his race. But Lando Norris, I know he started 7th, finished 7th. He had a good weekend. I know Piastri should have had so much better after starting in the front row there. But up in the sprint race and 5th here and. Definitely for a rookie, definitely looking good. He had a rough one, but Lando Norris is still keeping that McLaren team together after an absolute putrid start to the season. Lando Norris still getting points. I got to give it up to him. I know it's been really, really rough, and I know that car is tremendously improved over the last month or so, but he's still hanging on for points, and I got to give it up to him for that. And those are my winners, which I guess would bring us to losers, sir.
Losers. Carlos Sainz's big loser. One, they should have parked the car. Idiots. But your teammate gets on the podium and no points. So that's not good enough. Made the mistake locking it up going in the first corner as well. So that just set off a bunch of things. And I had Oscar Piastri. Just, major bad luck. Had a really nice sprint race. Had it on the front row, good race there, and then just nothing for you on Sunday right off the bat. Don't even get a lap in. Only get around about half a lap. The car was trash, so those would be my losers. I mean, I have another one that I was but I was saving that for you.
Yeah, I mean, well, Haas was just terrible all weekend. I just keep ending up on the loser list because
what happened in qualifying? Didn't even get him out there for a lap, dude. Didn't even get him out there for a lap. That was embarrassing.
The jack broke? How do you have a jack break? Like, where are you getting this from? Like, Pep Boys? Where are you buying your stuff from? The jack just snapped in half. How does that even happen in a professional team? How does this happen? Like, where did you get it from? Amazon discount store? Where are you buying your equipment from that it's snapping in half like that? Like, come on. That was ridiculous. And to not be able to get to the line because of that, that started it all. And they were looking good at times. Going into the sprint race shootout, they were looking good. They were looking like they might be able to do something, get into Q2, but just a disaster. Just a disaster. Nico starting from the pit lane and was out there, was running pretty well. And then they switched tires and they were just way back. They're not the only team that did that, but, that was another pretty pathetic weekend again for Haas. These are a lot of unforced errors. The drivers are trying. They've been out there, but it's. You think Ferrari's a clown show? They're not having like basic equipment just break in half. Like, come on. It's not even like driver error anymore. It's like you're going to the discount store to buy your stuff. Like, what's going on? Is it used F2 equipment? Like, what are you using that's breaking? Come on. I mean, that's as bad as it gets. And to not be able to get out there and put a lap in, like that's. I'm not saying that you're gonna get a top 10 time every time you get out there, but at least try to get a lap in. Come on, you're gonna make zero shots that you don't take. So, I don't even know who else. I don't know who else is a loser. I got no one else besides Haas. Besides my slap, I'm geared up for the slap today.
It's all yours. It's yours. Take it away, sir.
Geared up for the slap today. Because we're going to give the slap this week to Williams. I know we praised Williams a lot this year, and this was not the driver's fault because Alex Albon specifically was driving a fantastic all weekend. He was up there in the top 10, and then they went into the medium tires, okay? So they went in for the medium tires and made the first pit stop. Both Williams came in and changed their tires to mediums. Alex Albon calls that they were obviously lost pace, all right? He was in 7th, and then they started going down to 12th. All right, so he lost 5 places within a couple laps. So what do? They radio in and say the mediums aren't working. So okay, box. So they box both Williams again. And what do they switch them to? Medium tires. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You just did that and it didn't work. Literally. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. When both your drivers like these mediums are not working for this car.
They were graining.
And you bring them back in and you put mediums back on. What are you doing? And then 4 tire changes for the Williams. They end up finishing, 14th and I don't even know. Sargent finished 17th.
Yeah, something like that,
yeah. Yeah, 14th and 17th. They were running. They were running all weekend, and I don't know what they were thinking back there. So at least it makes Ferrari not look as terrible. The Ferrari did have a good weekend in the pits. We just had an unfortunate incident with Carlos Sainz. Oh, that was jackassery as well, leaving that car out there. I know you aforementioned, maybe like some slap Williams with the right, maybe come along with the left for Ferrari there for that one. Because that's going to be a grid penalty. I don't mean to transition to Ferrari's woes, but that's going to be a grid penalty later in the season for Carlos Sainz, and that's unnecessary. It looks like someone torpedoed the side of your vehicle here. Just take it off. It's over. It stinks. It happens, though. It happens to the best drivers no matter what. It's happened to the best drivers in the world. It happens.
Yep.
And that's my winners, losers, and slap for this week. We have a lot more to go, though. Because, sir, as you're sitting there grinning, somebody hit the trifecta this week. One of us hit the trifecta. It's been a while. One of us hit the trifecta. We did it this week in a very, very difficult grid to predict. Listen, it's a very difficult grid to predict every week or every race. This has been probably the most difficult gambling outside of the winner each week, which is just Max Verstappen every week. Pretty difficult, but it looks like we might both be in the black. We'll get to that momentarily. Greeny and the Cheese in the Paddock F1. Yeah, we'll be back in a flash.
Oh, yes. You know what that sound means, boys and girls. Time to take that fantasy ride to that fantasy island of Greentopia, where the beer flows like wine and the wine flows like beer. And the cannabis It grows as far as the eyes can see. Look at it. Look at it out there. Green and luscious. Take a little whiff. Ah, that air smells fantastic. Take a little walk to the top of the hill, to that casino at the top. Tickets in hand. Are we cashing in or are we checking out?
And I think you ended up splitting your bets this week and ended up getting a big goose egg. You had Max in there. You messed up your trifecta, and you went with the biggest gainer. Who'd you go with? Danny Rick?
Yeah.
Not bad. That's not bad. He was +3. I went with Nico from the pit lane, and he was +2. But Esteban Ocon, biggest gainer, as I mentioned in the last segment, +6. Didn't see an Alpine taking that. That kind of ruined both our afternoons a little bit. But I hit the trifecta for the first time in an eon. And you were not brave enough, as probably the right thing to do. You were not brave enough to go ahead.
I thought about it. But just the way I had 100%. I was like, they're going to screw this up somehow. They're going to screw it up. They're going to do something stupid, put them on the wrong tire, and do something stupid, because that's what they do. But they did it. Shockingly, they did.
Ferrari did look good all weekend. I think that was probably the best race since the beginning of the season for Ferrari. I think they looked good all weekend, and I had no problem taking Charles Leclerc. Good thing I took the right Ferrari and not the one with the hole in it. And Red Bull as well. I thought Sergio looked fantastic all weekend, and especially in the wets, and then expecting a dry day. I mean, obviously it did spritz a little bit for a couple laps in the middle of the race, but I don't think it really affected anything about the race. I don't think there was anything affected by it. I think it just was what it was. And obviously it affected the whole entire rest of the weekend, made for very dangerous conditions. But, Ferrari pulled through, ended up on a podium for the first time in a while, and 1-2 for Red Bull for the first time in a while. So, especially with Max and Sergio. So there you go. Great day for Red Bull. Good day for Charles Leclerc. Not a good day for Ferrari, but a good day for me, because I have gone back into the black, sir. Out of the red, out of packing up my bags just in time for summer break. So I can have a little extra bucks, Greeny bucks, to go spend on summer break here, because my total is 5,150 Greeny bucks, and you're still ahead of my 450 up to 5,600 Greeny bucks. You're actually remaining pretty steady there. So you got a little bit of a lead. Probably enough. At some point, I'm going to have to go a little Mad Hatter here. And
it's coming.
And now that we're in video, I'm going to have to get my Mad Hatter out of the closet here. There's no Mad Hatter this time, but maybe after summer break, we might have to go. I'm going to have to push it here to try to pass you. 450 is not a tremendous number, but it's going to be big enough, since I don't think anyone besides Max Verstappen is going to win this year. So it's going to be really difficult every single week to have that one. If Max continues his dominance, we might have to have a different kind of whole altogether.
Come up with something new
system here. So, but we'll figure that out for season 4 as we finish up season 3 here and at the halfway point. So that's where we are. So it only leaves us with one thing, sir. And that is, of course,
the news.
In the news. And there was a lot of news over the last several days here as we head into the break. What do you got?
What is going on in Alpine? Cleaning house. Team finished what? 4th in the constructors last year? We're just cleaning house. Mid-season. What's your thoughts? Drastic?
The results are there. Listen, if the results continue, then the results are there. Listen, Alpine was definitely struggling, and they really, really thought they were going to put themselves in a position, moving on from Fernando Alonso, and then Fernando Alonso goes to Aston Martin, who was an inferior team from Alpine last year, and is embarrassing them. All right? And I don't know if that was the precipice for everything, or that was the reason behind everything. But Fernando Alonso is embarrassing, I think, Alpine, and Alpine feels that. Whenever you have an employee that goes to your rival organization and then comes back and whoops your ass every week, something has to happen. And how do we get to that point where we're, I mean, straight up, that's what happened. You have a former employer, you go to a different team, and what are you going to do? So points are points.
Well, there's been a lot of changes in the Alpine organization. The CEO left, and then they brought a new guy in, and then the new guy came in and started making all the changes. So I think it could be just something like that. The guy just didn't see eye to eye with some of these people and gave them their walking papers. He's got a new vision. Ain't the same vision. Clean house.
Yeah, and again, I think you're right. I think the vision has to be the same. There's so many people in these organizations. There's so many different roles within an F1 organization. The fans only see the driver's perspective and the driver's point of view, but there's so much going on. And I don't think Alpine's failures have to do with their drivers as much as their personnel. But I think it's embarrassing. I think it's embarrassing to have when your drivers leave and then go to a different organization that should be just as good as your vehicle, maybe even slightly inferior, and they're beating you. And mid-season changes are never a good thing. In-season, mid-season changes are maybe not never a good thing, but never ideal. You never want to go into a season and then be like, okay, in July we're going to make a switch in any sport, especially motorsport, because it's very difficult. Personalities. This isn't a video game where you can just replace people at will. You know how it is with personalities clashing and having to work together and working together as a team and relying on each other, and then bringing someone brand new in that you have to build trust with. So listen, I want to see Alpine's continued success. You can't keep having double DNFs. That's not good. And did it stem from management? And was management not critical enough to the garage and the garage end to make sure these cars and these vehicles are getting out there in the best possible condition? And that may not happen. And that's why we find ourselves with this rotating door at Alpine. But hopefully they have more success. 8th and 11th this week, as we've mentioned before. Should be good to go. Next story, sir.
I got something else for you. This isn't even in the news. This is just a personal question that I came up with. Otmar's out of a job. Would you like him to take over for Gunther at Haas?
It should be in the news. Gunther's should be in the news because he's doing a poor job. And I've been saying this all season, and I think the convolution between all the fanfare he got and the online media fanfare he got through Drive to Survive kind of created, I like to call it the Anna Kournikova situation, where you think someone's a lot better than they are. Just because of their media coverage and saying they're really good and saying their team's going to compete. Listen, Haas came out before this season and said, we are going to be competing for points every single race. I don't even know. Listen, I'm the jackass for believing. Though. I mean, give me a 12th every once in a while. But you're finishing 16th or less every single race. 16th or worse every single race. Yeah, if there's guys out there like Otmar, if there's players out there, because how can you get worse? How can you get worse coming in last every week?
I mean, they do have a pretty big sponsor right now. They do have money. They do have a good sponsor, so. Results should be. Who cares
about their sponsor? You're coming in dead
Well, the
last.
sponsor matters because that's money, and when you're having more money, because they had a big debacle, the whole Russian debacle with Mazepin, his father, and the father's company with being their main sponsor.
Yeah,
that was a disaster.
Urcali. Yeah. We know the Urcali.
You got to give Gunther a little credit for holding that ship together at that point. But now they got a real sponsor. They got money. They didn't develop the car all last year to develop for this year's car. So this car is supposed to be showing something. It's supposed to be showing points. And this is Formula One. And what do you have to do in Formula One to keep your job? You got to have results. And there's no results coming out of Haas. So maybe it is time for Gunther to go. Yeah, you give him kudos and credit for holding the team together at some point, but it's going nowhere. It's going nowhere. You have money. You have a good sponsor, so that's a lot more money coming to the team. That means you can develop the car better, and it's going nowhere. I mean, has Haas even brought any upgrades this year yet? I don't recall anybody even say they brought upgrades.
No. Listen.
So that's a disaster. So maybe Otmar should come in and Gunther be out. Because it's time to show results.
Do you know what how Uralkali made all their money on? Do you know what Uralkali makes all their money on?
Oil?
Cow shit. It's a fertilizer company. They would like to refer to it as cow dung, which is probably that's what they do.
All right.
And you know what Haas is right now? Yeah, Haas should put an Uralkali sticker right back on that car, even though they're not a sponsor anymore, because that's what they are. They're cow dung. That's what the team's racing like. So it's ironic that the Uralkali sticker is no longer on there, because they're racing like it belongs there. That's all I got to say about Haas. Yeah, change everyone in that squad, the whole front office, fire them all. I don't care about Gunther's personality. This is not a personality competition. It's not. It's not who looks better in Drive to Survive or whatever crappy Netflix show you want to put out. It's not what this is about. It's about winning races and getting points every single week. And you want to come out and say you're going to get points every single week and then blow it every single week, every single race? No points. No points. Ferrari made a podium. Now it's time for Haas. You got the whole break to come up with something. And every team's getting better. McLaren's getting better. Alpine's now getting better. What are you going to do? I'm done talking about Haas. What else you got? What else you got before we put the first half of the season to rest here?
Renault's engine is down power. There's talk of having engines being equal. What's your thoughts on that? A lot of people are for it.
I'm sorry, one more time? I missed the question.
There is talk of there being equal engines coming into F1. They're going to change the rules to make all engines equal because Renault is down so much power compared to its competitors. What's your thoughts on that? There are people that are for it.
Listen,
including a lot of big teams.
Cars are even. I think the sport is better. I think the best driver, it does take away from the constructor a little bit, a lot. It does take away from the modeling. It does take away from, but also there's this whole fight in Formula One, and most people don't understand and know, the average fan might not know about the time they get in practice and wind tunnel time, which is always a problem every offseason. Who has what track, who was able to get how much time on different tracks. There's a lot of politics behind it. And, especially wind tunnel, which a lot of people don't understand, how important it is to be in the wind tunnels and to get that data back and reduced hours and things like that, and financials and everything like that. Listen, the more money your team has and can generate, the better your team should do. But having equal engines is probably the best thing to keep Formula One going. They tried the 11 tire change last week versus the 13 tires, which also was, I think, entertaining and mixed up the field a little bit. I think, that's one of the reasons why McLaren showed so well last week is all the tire change and that rule. Everything you could do to change competition as the sport grows. Listen, you have two major areas of this world that are growing in Formula One. It's United States, who wants competition, right? There's 3 races in the U.S. now. There's 5 races in North America now, including Mexico and Canada. So you got 5 races on one continent, and it's competitive. It's competition. There's a lot of money in this, right? Then you have the other side of it, the other side of the world, which continues to grow, and that's India. And India, who's looking for a race now as well, 1.4 billion people, 65% of the country is 30 years old or younger.
Yeah, they had one and they lost it.
But you have that as well. Opening competition to make it more competitive, as well as creating a full competitive season. It's just, what are you spending your money on by going to a race late in the season where the constructor's over, the drivers' champion's over? Really, everyone's in a position at the top end. Why are you paying big bucks to come out for the casual fan? It's not about the hardcore fan. The hardcore fan's going to watch no matter what. They're going to buy the F1 stuff. They're going to buy product. They're going to go out. They're going to go to the races, every couple of years or every year or so. They're going to spend money. This is about spending money. Sorry, folks, but this is about sport. It's about spending money and making money. And the only way to spend money and make money is to increase competition. And I know it goes very against of what F1's been, especially over the last 30 years. But yeah. We got to go away from. Nobody cares about the engine builds anymore. That's casual fans don't care about the engine builds. They don't care about wind tunnel times. They don't care about these micro data points. They care about competition and going into the final race of the season, and you don't know, or final at least month of the season, and you don't know who the champion's going to be. And it makes intrigue to watch. It makes you want to go spend money. It makes you want to do a lot of things that help the sport. And that's the only way to do it.
All about cash, baby.
It's all about the cash. It's all about the Benjamins, and that's all it's about. And in this sport especially. And we'll leave it at that, man. What a great show this week. I'm so glad that we got to get one more in before the break. Sorry for everyone we screwed up last week's show, but I promise you, we have a lot more coming. Cheese and I are going to be working over the break on some really, really special stuff as we go a little more into YouTube. I know it was a bit of a slow trudge towards YouTube, but we just got some brand new software here, which seems fantastic. So we're hoping to really spread our wings going forward here over the next few months and potentially dropping maybe a special episode during the break here as we work on some really, really cool projects that are a little bit different than what we've been working on, but all Formula One centric. It should be a really, really good time. So we'll look for that. Check out the YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, Greeny and the Cheese. YouTube, Greeny and the Cheese. Check out about all our stuff there. We got some sim racing. And, of course, we're going to have more and more of the podcast episodes up there. And some very special episodes as well coming up. So be sure to check that out. And, of course, email us in thepaddockusa@gmail.com, in thepaddockusa@gmail.com. Email us your questions. We'd love to get you guys on the show, or at least get your questions on the show. And maybe one very special guest might get invited into the show. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But you can't get on the show if you don't reach out to the show. So we might have one very special guest in our listening audience. Maybe they can jump on in the news 1 week here. So but you can't get on unless you email us in thepaddockusa@gmail.com. Check us out. Hit us up on YouTube. Listen to the show. It is free everywhere. We will never ask you for a penny for anything. We will never ask anyone for any money. Please feel free to send money if you'd like. We will never ask anyone. Everything we do is free. All 80 episodes we have are free. All 110 videos we have are free. And we'll continue to add to that. Please feel free to send your checks in, but we'll never ask you for money. Everything we do is free. There's nothing hidden. There's no hidden fees. There's nothing behind a paywall. Nothing. Everything we do is for you guys. It's for your enjoyment. And so please reach out to us in thepaddockusa@gmail.com. And where are we going next? Cheese.
Zandvoort in like a month.
We're a month away. Pack your bags, and hopefully we'll get you guys some episodes before then, and get you guys some special treats between now and Zandvoort. In the Paddock, Greeny and the Cheese. In the Paddock F1, Greeny and the Cheese. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Peace.
As always, stay medicated, my friends.
Peace.